What's Gucci, guys? So today we are gonna have an interview with an actual non-cosplayed self-preservation aid. We're gonna be answering some of the most demanded Enneagram 8 questions. You're gonna learn all about SP8 from the perspective of an actual non-cosplayed, non-Reddit loving Enneagram 8. You can introduce yourself
Oh,
if you wish.
what's up, guys? That's me, it's Reza. Let's get straight into it, man.
Let's
Let's do it.
do it. When we first met, you typed yourself as a sexual 8, and
Yeah,
right, we both were typing as a sexual 8 at that time, SLE,
yeah.
and now, what made you change your type? What made you change your mind that hey, I'm not a sexual 8, I'm a self-preservation 8?
So basically, with my typing journey, I've been a sexual aid at the beginning since I just gotten into it, and I didn't know much about it. And it was just basically me reading some shit in surface level material. I thought, oh shit, maybe SB8 is a bit too introverted, less
Yeah.
of an eight. I thought social aid is different as well. Definitely not me. And so sexual aid was like the most common one. I know that even you
Yeah,
had
yeah, it
that
was
as
like that.
first option.
Everyone was a sexual 8. Like all the characters. If you're an 8, you're a sexual 8, right?
Exactly. That's how it went. But as time went on and started like understanding more about it, I realized that actually, man, my day to day, my life, the way that I live my life is nowhere near as a sexual aid. I even told you.
Yes. Yeah, I
I think
remember.
that I'm a SPA, bro, the way that I'm living, even though I type as sexual eight. So it was on that point he was able to basically like denounce the fact that no, I'm an SP8 based off a few traits. And he just proposed the idea. I looked more into it, and it was just clear as day, man. It's been what, 2 years more that I've been typing as SP8, and
Yep.
it's been that, that's it.
So how would you differentiate like yourself from every subtype?
Right. So first of all, don't get it twisted, guys. Sexuate is not this like overly emotional fucking individual. Still a very non-emotional type of personality. However, compared to me, when I look at a sexual eight, I see a bit more relationship orientation, a little bit more of emotionality even. Yeah, a lot of it is anger, etc., but there's still a little bit there's a
Yeah.
touch of emotionality involved, and that shit I never related to at all in any regard. About the social aid is this individual who has this social mission, this messiah complex who's going to save people and have people under their wings and going to fight for a certain mission. And that is very far off from me. So I've never related to that at all. Neither the sexual aid, neither the social aid. Never, related once I understood it.
What is your growth journey like as an SP8? How do you go from the very unhealthy manifestation and how did it look like for you when you were really, really unhealthy?
So, first of all, just to lay this out, I was not very conscious of my actions and of my mood and of my health, like you could say. So during all those times, even now, I'm not that conscious. However, of these specific traits. However, I'll tell you my behavior, how it differed during all that time. So basically, when I was unhealthy, I was uh, I was definitely not as conscious of the actions and their consequences. And I would misunderstand situations all the time. For example, if I'm meeting a person and I get just a little bit of a hunch that they might be hostile or anything like that, it would be a very big problem, and I would escalate, and it would get physical a lot of the times as well. So I was unstable in that regard. I was not controlled, and I was not diplomatic in any sense. I was very black and white. Uh, I, Even in my close relationships, I was my way or the highway type of deal. A lot of unstable relationships all over the place, and just a lot of impulsivity and fucked up behavior that I would never do at this at my current state. So, for example, shit like if I'm on the this is the type of shit that used to happen for me. If I'm on the road and I'm driving and the person in front of me brake checks me, tries to fuck with me, I would just around their car with my car, and not think anything of it and not
I
really
find this
reflect
so
on
fucking funny. I'm sorry for laughing, guys. It's, oh fuck! But so you're not thinking about the damage of your own car? You're just like, man, I'm just
No,
gonna ram him.
No, just thinking I'm gonna ram him. I had a big car anyway. I just rammed him. He had a small car and shit like that. So
Okay, so yeah, if you ram them, it's gonna be really on them, and at the end of the day, okay.
yeah.
How can people meet you, and what can they do at that point that will kind of trigger, not trigger you, but set you off? Like, what are the small
Yeah.
behaviors and tendencies, maybe, and people, how would you want people to really approach you?
So at that specific time, if I had met a person and I have noticed any signs of hostility, any signs of disrespect, any signs of challenging, any signs of hostility in general, it would be a problem at that point. That's how it was for me. And any individual who approached me in a very obvious, it's all about. It was very surface level, so it wasn't really like even like deep. You get what I'm saying? Like a person, just the way they're talking, their tone could just give me that thought. If they come to me surface level, they're not as hostile. They're not hostile. They're very respectful, etc. Then it's not a problem. However, it was just cues and tones that would really set me off on individuals that I just met. It would, and that's me at my worst. That was when I was
Right,
at
when
my
you're at
worst,
your worst, and
neurosis wise. Yeah,
like respect, right? I'm assuming respect
yeah.
means a lot to you. That's like the biggest thing again, you are very fixated on and focused on here. What does it mean for someone to respect you, and why do you care about respect so much?
So respect to me just means a person who is aware of boundaries and never thinks about transgressing them. For
Okay,
me, that's what respect is, and that's how I show it to other people. Of course, the way you talk, etc., the shit like that. But it's just mainly the way that these boundaries are very important. That's how I view respect. If somebody respects you, they're not going to transgress a boundary. If
interesting.
somebody
Hmm.
doesn't, they might tease it, they might challenge it, they might do it. It's mainly that. And when I talk about boundaries, it's everything. Your work, your money, your family, your respect, your self respect, your house, everything. Has to do with these boundaries, as you might think. So this is mainly the element of respect with me. I will give respect. I have no problem giving respect. But if I'm disrespected in that sense, then that's where I can't let that go.
So,
And
I
and,
mean, when
and
I'm
not just
hearing
when I was
this,
in hell.
like as a person,
Yeah.
it sounds very cool, right? Like very straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Like you give respect to someone, and if they respect you back, or that they show you respect, they don't cross your boundaries. That's it's not an issue. But if they do, you won't let them get away with it. I think it's pretty straightforward. But what makes it so unhealthy?
So like I told you, in unhealth, it's for me, it's all about perception and judging these
Okay.
situations, judging these cues. So when I'm in unhealthy, anything could look like a transgression.
So if I
Anything
look
could
at
look
you,
like a
if I look
yeah,
at you a certain way, it's
exactly.
right. Okay.
Yeah, and actually had that specifically happen. People just in public looking at me, and I'm like, what the fuck's this guy looking at? Like, why is he looking at me? Is he got something to say, etc.? And then I would initiate something. It would be nothing, but it would happen over and over again. And when I was unhealthy, that's just telling you, giving an idea how unconsciously like oriented I was. I just didn't really think, okay, intellectualizing it. This guy's just looking. No, for me,
Yeah.
every single time it was like this guy has something to say,
So let me
or there's
approach
an
it. Let
issue
me
maybe at
approach it.
hand,
Let me
etc.
let me see what's up. Right.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Let me see what's up. Exactly. Uh, when I'm unhealthy, even though that it sounds like okay, this principle that you have is,
Right.
uh, is is actually pretty good. It's just the
Yes.
issue when you're unhealthy, anything could look like a transgression of boundaries.
Yeah, because
So
that's
yeah,
why I wanted you to clarify that, because someone would say, "Well, that just kind of means you stand up for yourself." But it's such a weird phenomenon with you, because I see someone who, from the way you perceive yourself and talk, it's okay, I give respect, and you don't seem like the person who wants to fuck up shit for no reason. Like there's such a defensive stance, but at the same time, it's the complete opposite of defensive because you initiate. So it's a weird mentality. Can you tell me more about it?
beautifully said. Yeah, I mean, 100%. It is rooted from the idea that you think it's the situation, the environment is dangerous. That's the root cause of the situation. So instead of being the victim, instead of having shit happen to you and then waiting around, no, you're gonna initiate conflict. You're gonna initiate the transgression, even though it might just be in your head at the beginning. right? So there's that
Yeah.
extreme element of protectiveness, neurotic protectiveness, you know. It even happens for people that I care about. If somebody, even just a slight sense of them transgressing on them, it's an issue. You know, someone being hostile, someone being, you got what I'm saying,
Right.
disrespectful, etc. There's people I care about. It's gonna initiate the same response. So yeah, so it comes from defensiveness at the beginning,
Right. But
but
then it
then
morphs.
manif
Right.
yeah, it manifests offensively, I would
But
say.
when you were doing all of those things in your mind, did you think, hey, I'm just protecting myself? Was it really that kind of mindset? Like, what was going through your
No,
head?
no, which is funny, right? You would think that that I would think like, no, I'm just protecting myself, but at that point, I'm thinking that every single thing is a challenge, and so me engaging that challenge is just the way that it should go. It's like it's just the way of the world. If I meet a person who is challenging me, then it's game on. It's just a game. It's
Yeah,
not
you don't back
really
down, basically, right? When you're that
no.
unhealthy, you cannot back down,
Yeah.
right?
No, you never back down. You never back down. It will lead you to fucked up situations. Up situations that I would never put myself in at the moment, you know?
How do you deal with this challenge shit? How do you navigate it? Do you just be like, it's not worth it? Or like, what happened? What changed? Like, why? How do you approach those kind of same situations?
So, beautiful question. I mean, when I'm unhealthy, it just was straight into action. It was straight into
Right.
action, straight into initiating and escalating and all that bullshit.
Yep.
However, now when I'm unhealthy, I'm able to control myself way more. So even if somebody I feel like they transgressed or
Yes.
they're challenging or whatever, I would go up to them, I would speak to them, and I would try to gauge them more. If I'm a bit irritated, I might, be a little bit, it would be obvious, but it just wouldn't be like to the extent that it was before, where it would just always initiate into conflict. So nowadays, it's way more controlled.
So
It's
it's
way
more
more.
moderated. It's more
Yes,
not as extreme,
yeah,
basically. That's kind of your
100%.
reaction is just more calm. And it, would you say it's easier to let go now?
Yeah, I would say it's way easier to let go, way easier to not be constantly on that mind state of just initiating and seeking conflict. It's way less abrasive in that sense.
Those years later, how are you like as a person, in your own opinion?
I'm way more of a normal person. I'm way more of a person that is not going to have these weird reactions. That's going to have these weird impulses, always seeking problems, always making problems to himself and others. So I'm way more of a normal person in that regard. I can cooperate with individuals. Still, I can face some issues in that regard, but
Yeah,
I am functional. So the biggest difference I could say is that before I was completely destructive to myself and others. But nowadays, I feel like I'm functional. I can function in work. I can
yeah,
function in family, without fucking up relationships, without having those types of issues arise.
yeah. Do you think you're a chill person, and would people think of you as a chill person?
So I do have an element of being calmed down, of being calm. I do have an element of being grounded, of not being expressive, of not being out there. So that may seem calm, but as a demeanor, I wouldn't say people would say just
Yeah,
chill. It is chill in some aspects, but it's not completely laid back. So I still do have that tension. I still a little bit have that tenseness, because I still do have that mentality of protectiveness, etc. It's still there.
of course,
It's more tempered,
for
but it's
sure.
still there.
How come you didn't type yourself as a sexual 6 or a self preservation 7, which are two types I see many people considering when they're even entertaining SP8 for themselves? What's your take on this?
Okay. So, for sexual six is a person that lives and dies by their framework, by their
Yep,
ideology, framework, by their. It's something. At the end of the day, logical or mental. They are aggressive, they are assertive, they are combative, all of those things. However, they mainly orient mentally. They mainly orient logically, framework wise, etc. Those types of things. So, if you're a person like that, uh, you shouldn't be typing as SP8. Um, There's a huge difference in those aspects. You know, with me, it was
Mm,
nothing ideological. It was nothing related to framework, related to a
right,
system, related to a structure,
right,
nothing related to logic. So it wasn't really like that at all. That's for sexual six. For SB7, you have to realize that SB7 is a seven at the end of the day. They're extremely charlatanistic, indirect, right? Indirect, extremely like and all of the seven aspects they do possess. So it's kind of hard to make that it's just
yeah.
similarly to sexual six. It's hard to make that connection.
It's still such a mental character, and there's such a
Yeah.
more seductive quality you don't relate to at all.
Yes, sir. Exactly that. Yeah.
Do you relate to the Ichazo 8, and do you think Ichazo 8 aligns well with Naranjo 8?
Yeah, so I did take a look at Ichazo and I read a little, not too much about eight and other types, right? And it struck me that eight, it had the same childhood that I had, down to the T, even the details. I related to that first and foremost. Secondly, there's this element of morality, etc. I wouldn't say that I possess these traits abundantly. However, I do have a very strong moral code. A very strong principles that I live by, and I expect other people to have, such as dignity, such as respect, such as honor, such as truthfulness, generosity, all of these traits that I believe that I possess and that align well with the Chazo 8. So these traits do actually cross over. You know, these traits do cross
Right.
over.
You mentioned morality, and this
Yeah.
kind of is going to follow up the question: how do you treat morality? What is morality to you? And do you think your morality is different from, like, the average Joe Schmo from the street?
So I believe morality's goal is supposed to give persons, every single individual, their right when it comes to everything, their rights in general, their boundaries not being crossed, their respect, a right to not be disrespected, right to just
Yep.
rights in general. So I feel like morality is his goal is to ensure these things, and that's the morality that I follow. So, for example, if someone wrongs an individual, I believe that you should punish that individual not to do it again. There should be an element of justice. I believe that forgiveness isn't always the answer. It's okay, maybe you want to forgive the person eternally. However, if you let the person do whatever they want to do to people, that's going to be a net negative for society. I believe that a person who kills should be killed. I believe that a person who steals should be punished for that. So that is my view on morality. Of course, being good to your family, being good to your parents, being good to your
Yep.
uh, cousins, etc. It's that's what I believe in morality.
Remember when
Yeah.
you as you said, you unhealthy ramming people's cars. How does that morality work in those situations? Like, you were willing to hurt
Wow.
people who maybe were innocent, right? So how did that work?
Even when I was unhealthy, completely, like I was doing some of the worst shit that I would ever do that I would never do again. I was actually always in the moral right in my head, even transgressing on innocent people. The thought that would be in my head is that I'm doing this is going to make them stronger. It's going to make them realize the reality of the environment that they're in. It's going to make them, next time, they're going to know how to deal with such situations. Every single time that I transgressed on a person wrongfully, in an unjustified manner, I always justified it in my head by improving the person and making them more equipped and more alert of situations. I thought that that was the ultimate moral good. Maybe they need that shit. It's gonna make them better. It's gonna make them stronger, essentially. So it was like that, man, and nobody
So
could
would you say
convince
maybe
me
it's a
otherwise.
twisted morality at the end of the day?
It was a twisted, yeah, it was a twisted morality for sure. If anybody heard me at that point saying these things, they would think I'm crazy.
Are SP8s notorious ungenerous psychopaths, bro? Like, come on, man, tell us.
Okay. Okay. So in unhealth, you, if you guys followed what I was saying, you're not even in the mental capacity, mental space to be generous, to be helpful towards others, because all you're focused about is protecting yourself in that sense. And so you're not even thinking of these things. All you care about is getting what you want, is protecting yourself and protecting the people that you care about if you're healthy enough to consider that, right?
Yep,
So being generous and being pro-social in these aspects is definitely missing completely when you're unhealthy, solely because you're just mainly focused on these things that I mentioned. However, when you're healthy, because I believe every single eight has this extremely strong loyalty and almost like maybe brotherhood concept that they have. When any eight, and including me, is healthy, trust me, they're gonna watch out for their friends. They're gonna be there for their family. They're gonna be generous. They're gonna do their part. They're gonna be loyal. At least for me, and I know myself very well in these aspects. Rusted can relate to a lot of these things,
for
big
sure.
time.
People often talk about lust, right? Oh, you have to be an adrenaline junkie. You have to be out every single day, like partying and going crazy. You can't be a homebody. You cannot do this. Last, last, last. What do you think of this, and what does intensity even mean? What is this last? How should people understand this in your opinion?
So when I was in my teens, when I was a kid, was having fun. Maybe I went a bit overboard in some aspects, but I was all of that. I was seeking intensity. I was seeking that dopamine, everything. However, once I've reached my 20s, right? Um, these shifted. These impulses shifted. I'm not necessarily trying to get hammered all the time or trying to go for and
Yeah.
trying to be wild and wild out. No, I mean I'm 25 at the moment, so these things are diverted. So I would consider myself more focused in getting material things that I want. I like getting that new car. I like getting that new whatever tool it may be. I like getting that even food. I go and procure my own shit however way that I want it to be. So I seek that outside dopamine in other ways, mainly by acquiring things that I like. And I
Right,
would go to extreme
right,
lengths
right.
in doing those things. For example, I told Russ about this, but when I was buying my car,
Yeah,
I was so tunnel visioned and so fixated about buying that car. The exact model that I wanted was that I went out in the morning and I went to like 6 or 7 dealerships all around the city trying to find that model in the best deal that I can find. And I went back home at nighttime.
yeah.
So it was like hours and hours of just pursuing that goal, getting what I wanted, right? And it does manifest in work as well. If I feel like the project that I'm completing is going to lead to a certain outcome, then I'm going to be on it until it's done. So that's how it manifests for me at the moment. This is how intensity and lust manifests for me
Right.
personally.
It is last, yes, in the sphere of the conservation. Some people think it's maybe a try hard type, always sweating.
Oh no.
Do you like to chill out, eat good food, play fucking video games? How is it? How are you like? Do you know how to chill?
People might be surprised or whatever, but most of my time is chilling.
Yeah.
Most of my time is downtime. Most of my time is eating what I want. Of course, I'm working and shit like that, but I'm not on that high level of intensity 24/7. For me, it's bursts. So I will be chilling until I see something that I want, until I see a goal that I feel like I can pursue. And then I'm on it 24/7 until I see that through. And then I'm back to chilling. And yeah, so it's not like a person is constantly on the go or constantly on that high gear. There's no way. You get what I mean? So a lot of the time I'm chilling.
The
Yeah.
statement, lion that only moves when he is hungry, is really accurate, at least from what I'm hearing. It's perfectly accurate for you as an individual.
100%. One of the most accurate things I've read that I didn't even think that people would even mention. But yeah, very accurate.
Oh, am I too introverted for an SP8? How introverted should I be? Where do I draw a line? So the question is, how extroverted are you? Basically, yeah, that's it. Your extroversion,
Uh,
introversion. How is it like?
for me, extroversion and introversion is not a very significant concept. So, for example, I am not completely extroverted. I am not out there constantly seeking that interaction. I am not constantly trying to socialize. At the same time, I am not constantly introverted. I am not constantly withdrawn and avoiding interaction. So for me, extroversion and introversion is kind of like, I don't know what to say about it. It's balanced, probably. Like maybe that's the main takeaway that you can
Would
think
you
of.
say
But it's
like
just very
50,
balanced.
50, 60%?
Yeah, like I would say 60% extroverted and 40% introverted. Yeah, I do have some extroverted qualities, but at the
So
same
how do
time, I'm
those
not. I'm not.
introverted qualities manifest in you?
So I could spend a lot of time by myself alone. I could spend a lot of time just doing whatever I want to do, doing activities that I want to do by myself. I can do that a long time. Yeah, I will feel the need sometimes later
Yeah,
to do it with others, etc. But I could spend a long time by myself. It's very evident, very obvious for me. So this
yeah.
is how my introversion manifests. Yeah.
The
Oh,
selfishness of the
yeah.
SP8. What does it mean for the SP8 to be selfish? Are you selfish?
So at moments of unhealth, you are you okay. You probably would try like exceed the concept of selfishness because all you're thinking about is your boundaries and people who might challenge it. So you're constantly focused on that. That is complete selfishness in that regard, and you're not really looking out to give anything out to people because that doesn't serve that goal. You're always fixated on that goal, and you're never going to divert from it. However, when I'm healthy, like at the moment, I have people that I'm very loyal to, that I care about, and that are extremely generous with, and not just generous in the
Yeah.
material sense. I'm loyal to. I am always there if they need anything. So it's like a pendulum that swings. If you're unhealthy, it's going to be one way, and if you're healthy, it's going to be a completely different way.
You can be the most generous person, even materially, even when it comes to
Yeah,
possessions and
materially,
giving people stuff. I think,
especially materially,
right? So there's this component.
especially.
And tell me this. So who
Yeah.
are you like this with everyone? Is it just specific friends that you tend to be more kind of giving? What is there like criteria? Is there any like what are your thoughts on this?
So a person who, okay, so I've never been generous with people that I don't know. That's just out there. However, people that have never transgressed me in any sense of the word, that have been loyal to me in every sense of the word, that have never felt the need to watch out or
Yep.
be on my toes around. These people are the type of people that I would basically give all my loyalty to. I would be very loyal, extremely loyal to these people. So you could think close friends, family, etc. And for me personally, the way that I would give back to these people, the way that I show my gratitude to these people is basically in giving them whatever I feel like I would have liked, whatever I feel like
Oh,
for me is
right.
is 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 top. So if I have like a component in a computer like that, I am completely like,
Yeah.
I would be excited about. I would give it to a friend.
Yeah, well, yeah,
I
we
would
we
give it
know
to
that, right? Yeah, we do know that. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I have like some food, for example, that I've grilled, I'd love to share it with my family. I'd love to share it with my
So it's
family.
like the shit that you care about, the shit that means so much to you give it. It's very interesting, right? Because you
Yeah,
value
yeah,
it. But that's also
I
your
do.
way of showing you care. Because what is
100%.
more telling that you give a fuck than giving something that you value so much, right?
Exactly,
That's
exactly, and
that's
that's
that's the
that's
way I look at
exactly
it too. How do you show care? And I'm guessing that's the way you go about it, right?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not the yeah.
But you want to add more about the emotional part? Like, are you not good with giving love
Yeah,
in the
so
emotional realm?
emotionally and verbally and all these things, I'm not the most suave. I'm not the most talented in these aspects. However, I do show my care and my gratitude in giving people things that I feel like that they're gonna like. So that's
Yeah,
been my method. That's
yeah,
been my go-to method all
yeah.
the time.
Territory.
Oh,
You talk
territory.
about this boundaries. There's so much of that. So much conservation. Anyone who watches this video is like, holy guys. By the way, learn from this motherfucking shit. This is important. All of the shit he talked about in the beginning: conservation, safety, well-being, security, boundaries. It's beautifully outlined. What is your territory? Is it just your fridge, your car? What does it extend to?
So all this time, you could literally replace the word boundary with territory.
Mm,
Anything that is related to me is considered part of my territory. So it goes from the obvious things. It goes from my house and my car and my belongings and my material and money. And then it goes into the people that I care about, the people close to me, my friends and my fiance, etc. All of these things are my territory. And if people transgress on it, that means they're transgressing on me. That means that they're transgressing. If somebody transgresses on something that you care about, I'm
they're
sure you're gonna
transgressing
feel like
on
they're
you.
transgressing. Yeah, exactly. So that's how it is for me. That's how it is for me. The things that I care about most, I don't want anybody thinking they could do something with it or challenge it.
It's said that the Enneagram, the SPA seeks satisfaction. What is
Yeah,
satisfaction to you?
I've thought about this a lot because I've seen this in my life a lot. But as an eight, you don't necessarily gravitate towards, for example, daydreaming to satisfy yourself. You don't necessarily gravitate towards emotional needs to
Yeah,
satisfy yourself.
because it wouldn't
You don't
satisfy you.
necessarily,
I mean, what the fuck?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So what you seek for satisfaction, it needs to be external in a sense where for me,
tangible.
I like, yeah, I like tangible things. I like things that I can use, that I can drive, things that I can eat, things. All of these things usually are the only thing that I can derive satisfaction from. It's not that I have the specific driver about these material things. It's just that I can't derive any other satisfaction from any other place. So the only place I can derive satisfaction from is these material things.
Right. So it's, in a sense, if you can interact with it, that's when you can derive satisfaction. If you can,
100%.
in a sense, utilize it in some type of way, be it eat it, right, consume it,
Yeah, yeah,
use it, drive it,
yeah.
wherever, you're still utilizing it in a very tangible way. People are now hearing materialism, boundary, la 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 la, physics, and there's a lot of idea that the SP8, he's a materialist. All he cares about is money, and he's 1F. He's like 3V. What do you think of this materialism in the SP8? And do you think it is the most important thing? And should they be 1F, in your opinion?
People have to realize that behind all of this material need, behind of all of this material focus, is your will. You are basically oriented about instilling your will on the environment, instilling your will in the environment to ensure boundaries, instilling your will on the environment for independence, to meet your desires. All of these things are will oriented, and yeah, there is a big aspects of physics involved. However, if you were to compare willpower and physics, it would always be will. It would always land on will. It will never be a different placement for physics. If it's
You
second
wouldn't
physics, it
so you
doesn't make
wouldn't
sense.
sacrifice the will for
Oh yeah,
materialism.
exactly. Exactly. Would never. That would be, if anything, to me, that's one of the worst things you could do. That's selling out. That's not having integrity. That's not having any self-respect. And that's something that I would never do. All of these defensive traits that I have, all of these focuses that I have, is basically to ensure that never happens to the point where I'm there to sell myself, or in such a disadvantageous position. I would never be in that position.
SP8's intolerance of frustration. How does that manifest in you?
When you only derive satisfaction from the material and you feel like you can't reach that goal, you can't derive satisfaction, then you're going to feel like you can't derive satisfaction from anything, and that creates a certain response, a response that you want the thing now, you want the thing at when you want it, and anything that is diverting from that is going to cause you an issue. So frustration is directly linked to that. It's directly linked to satisfaction. If you can't have it, then it's going to cause an issue.
And it's intolerance. So you will. I know with you from personal my own personal experience that You order something online. It's as simple as buying something online, and you look at the delivery date. It's too slow. You literally cancel the fucking order, get a new order from the another website just so you get it ASAP. That's the level
Yeah,
we're talking about. It's even in the
exactly.
most simple instances of life.
Yeah.
You just
If
hate
if
waiting.
if I just hate waiting. I just hate waiting for the things that I want. If I can, I would go out of my way to spend hours to get the thing if I'm gonna be spending days, and it doesn't matter how much energy I'm gonna be exerting. So no, to me,
Wow.
why
Yeah.
wait when you can have it now? Basically, you know.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Let's talk about intellectualism because there
Yeah.
were obviously many people thinking, well, the SP8 is more head oriented as a conservation type. There's more intellectualism. What's your relationship with intellectualism?
I don't know about other SPAs, but I have never sat and tried to go and read a book for the sake of reading a book, or intellectualize an idea, or abstract it, or philosophize it, or anything like that. I have never used my intellect for these recreational activities or anything related to. However, I use my intellect extensively when it comes to getting things done. For example, in work, I know all the procedures. I know how to do it and how to the method to do it and get things done. I know the exact thing that I need to do strategically or tactically to get what I want, or at least if I don't know, I will go and I will take the time to learn it. So intellectualism for me has always been about goal reaching completely. I just don't get satisfied from sitting there and philosophizing about things. I'm not curious. Funny enough, like when I did the Big Five a couple of days ago, I got like less than 10 on
Openness.
openness to
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it
did the
was like I
IP
think it was
300?
IPIP 300
That
exactly.
shit butchered me
I
too.
got
I scored low, man. I was like, holy fuck. I was like, I scored low. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Your approach to conflict. Do you
okay.
strategize? Is there more strategy involved? Are you more cunning? What's that like?
All my instincts that I've been acting on when I was unhealthy has never been to strategize. It's never been to sit there and to plan out a plan to go and do something that I want. It's always been instinctive, and all the actions that I've took has been extremely one-dimensional and instinctive. I don't sit there and plot and scheme. I don't sit there and try to plan how to take over this and or how to do this or how to. I never do that type of shit. I don't like to do it, and I've never done it. When it comes to strategizing and shit, like I would rather have other people strategize and then give me a plan of action that I can act on. So when it comes to strategizing, I don't sit there and strategize. I'm not a strategizer. That's not something I've ever done. So
Action
strategy
oriented
is
character.
more
Through and
action.
through.
Yeah, I like to do things more so than just sit there and strategize. And I hate
Sit,
to do these
like for
things. You know,
example, coming
to
up
me
with a
it
plan.
just
That's the most boring part of the process.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah, yeah, I
exactly.
get that. Your relationship
Okay.
with trust. What types of people you trust? What types of people you don't trust?
I'm not the type of person to go around trusting people, especially people that I don't know. So the person that I trust, they have gone through months of me observing them and observing what they're made of and their capabilities. If I feel like the person is incapable of harming me or doesn't want to harm me essentially, then that is the type of person that I'm going to trust. However, if that type of person ever shows that they have that impulse in them, they have that idea in them to want to harm me, they have that capability, then I will never be able to trust that person no matter how hard I try. So I would say I'm not as generous with my trust. I'm not as open with my
But
trust. I
is it that's
definitely
all
do.
it takes? Them not harm, not having bad intention, or is there more to what makes you trust
Mainly
another?
mainly so it's mainly revolved around that. If they're not the type of person that is in their objective to try to harm me, I will trust them. I have no issues trusting them. So the people that I trust, they're not many, but I trust them completely. I trust them. My fiance, I trust her
Yeah,
fully. You know, my close friends,
yeah.
I trust her fully. I trust them fully.
And for
You
them
know,
to
because
break your trust, what would they have to do?
oh yeah, they would have to go against me. They would have to want to have my interest
Okay.
or my well-being in their you know something that they want to harm. The decision that I'll make to want to trust a person, it's very rare. It's only with a few people. It's either I trust them fully or I just don't trust them at all. Same as I'm willing to do that for them and I will go above and beyond, they should do that to me as well. And if they don't, then they're lacking in my eyes. When it comes to strength,
Yeah,
strength is the ability to keep your backbone and keep your self-respect at the face of challenge. So that implies that if you're challenged, you're gonna meet it. If you are in conflict, you're never gonna back down. If you're in danger, you're gonna see that through. That's strength to me. Strength is being able to do that by yourself, alone, without the need of others or the help of others. That's mainly strength to me. So if anybody possesses these qualities, I view it as strength. And if anybody cowers in the face of challenge, let's go of their values. Let's go of their principles in the face of challenge. Changes in the face of challenge. That is
that's
somebody
weak.
without
That's
strength in
weakness.
my eyes. That's weakness. This is something for better or worse. If I ever fail at, then I don't know what the am I, and I don't know who am I. So if I'm a person that fails at all of these things that I talked about,
You're not
then
you.
I don't know. I'm not me. I don't know what I am at that point. You've built all your life around this aspect. If I was the type to talk about these things but never do it, I would not be able to live with myself because that's not me. That's not me. But if I'm able to do it, then I'm thankful at the end of the day that I'm able to do it. I'm grateful for that.
What does being in control mean to you, and how do you react when the control is threatened?
Control for me all has to do with your circumstances. If you're able to control your circumstances, what happens and what doesn't happen to you, what types of things that are harming you, what types of things that are a danger to you. If you're able to control all these things and circumstances, then to me you're in control. Nobody's God. Nobody can control everything. But if you do your best to control as much as you can and the best way that you can, then you're doing your part. But if you leave these things open and then you get attacked or you get in danger and you get harmed in any way, shape, or form, then that's on you. Whenever that control is slipping, that's when
Right.
you're overreacting. That's
Yeah,
where
you are in a
impulsivity
sense
takes over.
compensating for this lack of safety, lack of feeling
Yes,
of control, and you're grasping it, and you.
exactly.
It's like again, in the Enneagram 8, it's the less in control you feel, the more aggression starts appearing, right? The more
100%.
you grip something, the tighter you grip it, because you're feeling like that you're gonna lose the grip on this thing.
I don't find myself controlling people. I'm not the type of person to micromanage individuals because it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean anything for to me to manage and control an individual. What means everything to me is managing my circumstances. If I'm able to do that, I'm happy. However, if I can't, then that's where it's
right.
an issue for me.
From your perspective as someone who knows me, do you think I'm controlling?
Definitely do take control of conversations, that's for sure. So I wouldn't say it's micromanaging individuals from what I've seen. It's not
Yeah,
micromanaging individuals.
yeah,
It is controlling the situation. It is controlling the immediate circumstance, the conversation itself, the
right,
environment. That's what
right.
I've seen. That's what I've seen. Micromanaging and controlling
Yeah,
people
no,
to
no,
a
I'm not.
standard, for example. No,
How
no.
come like you vibe with me so well, like we don't clash?
I don't mind it because mainly I feel like it's because I focus on other things and you focus on other things. You focus on the flow of the interaction of the socialization of the conversation. That's what you focus on. And I focus on other things if I can get my needs met, if there's an immediate physical
Right.
danger to myself. Well, there's mutual respect through and through that we
And
are very aware of, I
and
feel,
boundaries,
and
right? I feel
yeah,
like.
that we upkeep 100% boundaries and yeah, 100% that we upkeep out of respect for each other. So I feel like that's huge.
How important is independence to you, man? Emotionally, financially, physically.
I would say that to me, the ultimate sign of success is being independent, and strength is being independent. And the ultimate sign of weakness in itself is being dependent. If you're willing to sell yourself and then get whatever you want, I don't view that as strength or success. If you're willing to stoop low in order to achieve something, I do not view that as success. If you're willing to hold your own and go about it yourself and really rely on yourself, rely on your intellect, rely on your actions, and get what you want to ensure your own safety and the people around you, especially too, I feel that is the most admirable thing a guy can do, honestly. And if they do it successfully, all top, I mean,
Yeah.
All respect to them. I'm always putting myself in positions that will never subjugate me. I'm confident and comfortable that I would not be subjugated in any avenue in my life because I've worked so hard on it not to be subjugated, not to be taken advantage of. Ever since I was a kid, I've been trying to achieve this goal, and I feel like, with all the effort that I've put in, there's definitely success in that aspect. It's what I'm built on, it's what I pride
Yeah,
myself on, is
yeah,
what I like about myself
yeah.
personally.
Your
Yeah.
relationship with authority. How is it
To
like?
me, yeah, to me, authority is always neutral. To me, I never view authority as this is a bad thing or a good thing. I view it as a tool. You can use this tool in your favor. You can always leverage benefits from authority, or you could be harmed by authority. So if you're comfortable and confident enough in dealing with authority, you're always going to come out the winner, in
Yeah,
my eyes, right? But if you approach it always from the negative aspect, that you might not get the best chances. You might
yeah,
not get the most benefits, the
yeah.
most success. Yeah. I feel like being neutral and being more practical about authority is something that I feel like more people
Mm.
should be doing. Yeah, I know it could be hard and shit like that, but if you try to do it and you succeed at it, I feel like you're gonna benefit.
How rebellious are you? Do you consider yourself like a very rebellious person?
So I've never been this rebellious character. I've never been this character that is you could look at and say, "Oh my God, he's so rebellious."
Yeah, right, right.
However, throughout my life, if I wanted to wild out, I would wild out. If I wanted to do whatever the fuck I wanted to do, I would do it. So I would call myself more autonomous than rebellious. If anything, I would never viewed myself as rebellious. I know other people that are way more rebellious, way more confrontational when it comes to these aspects of rebellion and shit like that. Even
Yeah,
I feel like you're way more rebellious
yeah.
in a lot of the
Yeah.
aspects than me. Yeah.
Do people ever misunderstand your intensity or directness? And what do you wish they would understand better?
100%. So, sometimes, especially when I was neurotic, when I would meet people, I would be unaware of how I come off to people. So I might come off as too tense, too guarded, too confrontational. But at the moment, I'm just not thinking that I'm doing these things. I'm just thinking that I'm ensuring the things that are going about in my head, etc. But what I would love for people to know is that, listen, all I care about is my circumstances, like I said, and my well-being and my family. So I have nothing against people. I have nothing against anyone. So it's for me, it's like it's just that. It's simple as. It's nothing against people. It's nothing like that.
If you approach this SPA without this fear, even if you see that they're a bit tense, you'll actually have a better relationship because the SPA was gonna be like, yo, this guy actually gets me.
Yeah, you could
It's
let your guard
interesting.
down, you could trust the individual, you could start to trust them. But if they approach you in a more, unclear position, a bit more defensive, whatever, it's just not gonna end well for both parties.
I I sometimes tell the story. I even told you this before. I met
Yeah,
an SPA on a New Year's party, and it's
yeah.
really fun. I told you he reminded me of you, right? It's one of those fucking moments, and it's really funny because this guy nearly got into a fight with someone in the most stereotypical way because he thought this person took something from his apartment, like Pepsi,
Wow.
which
Yeah.
seems ridiculous. By the way, this guy is not healthy. He's abusing drugs.
Yeah, it
He's
doesn't sound like
he's not
it.
healthy,
Yeah.
but he's so neurotic about it that he was willing to beat this guy up. And this guy was a fucking geek. So I'm sitting there, kind of observing the situation, and it's funny because I talk to him and he's looking around. He's like commenting on the guys on the party. He's saying, "Yeah, look at those guys. They don't know what it's like." He's saying like they never had it difficult. Soft motherfuckers, they never. And he's kind of looking at them. He's really fucked up. And he told me that they didn't even say hi. They didn't even introduce themselves to me in my own house. And he
That's
says,
crazy.
reason why I respect you is because the first thing you did, the first person you were there as the first person, you came with a drink. You made a fucking drink on your, like, you gave us things. You made a fucking drink. You introduced yourself, gave me your hand. And for him, just the attitude of introducing yourself and approaching him like a fucking man directly, he respected me. The guy gave me
Yeah.
free weed. I met him one time. He gave me free weed. He was
Yeah.
the type of a guy, and he told me, listen, I will give you anything. And you ask me, I'll fucking do it. I'll help you. But don't just take shit from me. And that's
Yeah.
what he told me
Yeah.
during the fucking party. And I was like, holy And that's how you should
Wow,
approach
that's
SPAs.
crazy.
Keep it simple. You're a little smart ass. If you're one of those goofy right? Internet people, you like to be funny. You like to troll. Haha, let me provoke this guy and get away with it on the internet. You will get slapped by an individual like this straight up. What are the most simple dead giveaways that someone is not an Enneagram 8? Not even just, you can say Enneagram 8 and then you can even say SP8 for both.
Okay, so I've realized there's this segment of people who think that they're an 8 because they're assertive, because they're protective of themselves, because etc. All these traits. And yeah, sure, okay, these are, but when you look at them, they're indirect people. They're people who scheme and strategize. They're people who don't believe in confrontation. If anything, they believe it's bad. They're people who are schemers. They're Machiavellian, right? Machiavellian individuals. I'm telling you, that's not a fucking 8. If you're not direct, if you're not honest about your position, if you're not fighting and confronting shit, then you're not. If you're afraid of doing that or view it as bad, then sorry, I don't see the typing. I don't see that typing working. You know, if you're an individual who is mainly in their head is a mental individual, all these things, sexual 6 type of shit, that's not really an 8. If you're a person who goes on Reddit and complains about the dumbest shit that you could think of, right? Crying, literally crying, right?
Weeping,
And I'm
literally
sorry,
weeping. Some motherfucker
weeping
was
and
like, I don't want to sound like I'm depressed and whining. And it's like, oh my God, there's no fucking way.
I'm sorry, but no, I've never done it. I don't believe other eights would do it. It's like your whole personality is built on a specific principle, and why would you go against it so simply and so easily, right? I wouldn't know what the to do with myself if I was out there weeping. I would never be
Yeah,
weeping.
I met Reza on Reddit, bro. Fucking asking for help.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even trying to make fun of these people, but it's just that
Don't worry,
fact that
you're not trying to make fun of them. I am, right?
yeah,
Someone has
yeah,
to.
that's my
Someone
two
fucking
cents,
has
man.
to, Reza. Someone has to. If I don't make fun of them, who the will? It's a simple equation. 1 plus motherfucking 1. If I don't make fun of them, they will not learn. Right?
It's true. That's fair. That's fair. I can see that.
What's your relationship like with vulnerability? How do you deal with it?
Okay, since I was very young, probably, and maybe other eights would relate, there's been moments of vulnerability,
Well, yeah.
real
Well, you're
vulnerability that
human.
you might have felt.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. But ever since then, you've developed yourself consciously or unconsciously to never be in that situation, never feel these emotions ever again. So I can say confidently, I haven't cried since I was about maybe 12 or 11, right? I'm 25 at the moment. I haven't cried once like that. I don't sit around and feel vulnerable. If I ever
Yeah.
felt a sliver of vulnerability, it would be game over. It would be bad for me and the people around me. It would be self-destructive time. It would be fucking up the relationships. It would be harming individuals,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
those things. So vulnerability, I've never felt it. I've never felt like because I never put myself in those situations
Yeah.
because I've built myself never to feel that. So vulnerability's relationship with me is basically, yeah, it's that. Ever since you were a kid, man, you've buried that shit so
You've buried
fucking
that
deep
shit.
that you
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
feeling.
Because as I say in my video, right, on my the Enneagram childhood, you hated feeling because that's what made you feel helpless. That shit was vulnerability.
Yeah,
So you
100%.
swore to yourself, again, consciously or unconsciously, you're never gonna be put in a position. You're never gonna let someone else like that put you in a position. That's where this vengeful act kind of process happens. But most
Yeah,
importantly,
100%.
those emotions that you feel, they are a burden and they will be eliminated. As simple as that. And over a period of fucking time, over years, your psyche hardens and
Yeah,
you're
that's the
just not
thing, right?
sensitive anymore, you know? Even though you should be sometimes. Enneagram 8, I said they don't have empathy for themselves. I think this is true.
Yeah. You never even put yourself in the victim situation. So how are the you supposed to feel vulnerable in the first place?
Yeah, because
You're never a
again
victim of
the
anything,
victim.
right?
Yeah, yeah, fuck yeah.
So like you're never a victim. If you're never a victim, why the fuck feel bad about yourself? Right? Like you don't allow yourself to go to these depths and shit.
Listen, I think this is it's a long interview. I think you answered questions beautifully. Uh,
Thank you.
if people have some questions, they can also ask you down below if they want to have a direct answer from you. They can receive that
Yep.
in the comment section. You're gonna be active there. But
Yep.
bro, thank you for the interview, man. It was a interesting interview with an actual SB8, bro. People need
Man,
to be
thanks for having me, man. It's been a blast. Been a blast, man. Thank you for having me.
always, always, broski. We're gonna be hitting ready or not, guys. Anyways, we chows, we out, and we motherfucking bounces.